Hey everyone, before I start my case today, I want to reach out to you about being safe online. In real life, we take precautions to protect ourselves in our homes by installing doorbell cameras, security lights, and locking our doors at night. But what about security online? This is where Surfshark VPN comes in, and I have a Christmas offer for you. I myself, because I am a true crime content creator, came to the realization that I needed more protection when researching cases online. My research brought me to sites that would be deemed unsafe and a bit scary. So my search for a VPN began and I came across Surfshark, among others, but to me Surfshark offered the best value for my money, with 3 different tiers to choose from and a 30-day money-back guarantee, and who were deemed one of the top 3 VPNs in the world. So when they reached out asking to work with me, how could I refuse? Surfshark offers you a lot more than security, which I will get into in a minute. It offers you a clean online environment to surf safely. No ads, no trackers, no malware or phishing attempts, 24/7 antivirus, webcam protection, and you can generate a new online identity and proxy email with alternative ID. It can also remove data from company databases. Incognito mode will hide from your internet provider that you are using a VPN. If you are using public Wi-Fi in a cafe or library, for example, no one can hack your device and steal your personal details. It also has no borders policy, which means you can travel around the world without ever leaving your house. Or if you are actually travelling, then you don't have to miss out either. For example, if any of you are lucky enough to take a trip to Ireland and it's raining outside and you want to watch your favourite Netflix series and it's not available in Ireland, then all you have to do is click on the icon, change the country location, and you are automatically transferred back home. You are not just limited to one device either. One account covers you and all your family's devices, which is a plus for me, as I have a teenage son that plays Xbox and I want to know he is safe. I go from my phone to my laptop to my PC when I'm working or when I'm on my downtime. What I love most is I no longer have ads targeted at me based on what I look at online. Surfshark takes all that away. To me, choosing Surfshark is a no-brainer, and right now for Christmas they are offering 83% off, plus up to 5 months free, and most importantly a 30-day money-back guarantee. So by clicking the link below in the description box, surfshark.deals/ICTC, you can avail yourself of this offer. Just enter the promo code ICTC to get your discount. I would like to thank Surfshark for sponsoring this video, as it helps keep the channel going. And so to our case today, which brings us to Drogheda, a town in County Louth, where the south of the town fringes on County Meath, on the east coast of Ireland, and is around 56 kilometres north of Dublin. It is an industrial and port town and is the largest town in the Republic of Ireland. It is the largest bridging point on the River Boyne before it enters the Irish Sea. It is a growing tourist area with its brewing and distilling, with companies like Jameson Whiskey, Coca-Cola, Guinness and Jack Daniels all having previously produced or still producing their products in or around the town. The world-famous Newgrange can be found 8 kilometres from the town, and it has hosted the music festival the Fleadh Cheoil na hÉireann 2 years in a row. It also has the Boyne Shopping Centre and Scotch Hall Shopping Centre. It is a beautiful town, steeped in history, with loads to do and see. And of course the pubs and restaurants are second to none. But like many large towns in Ireland, it brings its own problems, and Drogheda is no different. In recent years, certain types of offending, particularly drug-related crime, including organised criminal group activity, feuding violence and intimidation, have escalated to an extent that many Drogheda residents report generalised fear when going about their daily lives. One of these areas is Rathmullen Park, a housing estate where our case is based. While some residents of this estate take pride in working and living peacefully, they are the few that ruin it for everyone. Most of the trouble can be summed up as antisocial behaviour by the youths of the estate, hanging around in groups and getting up to no good. In the early hours of New Year's Day 2014, a couple of teenagers were walking home after being out celebrating. As they were walking past a house in the McQuillan estate, they saw a man stumbling out of a house. As he approached the teenagers, he cried out for help. As he tripped and fell on the grass, he told them that he had been stabbed and to call an ambulance. In the doorway of the house the man just came out of stood a woman drying her hands on a towel. As the teens went closer to the victim and used the light from their phones to see, they realised that the man was indeed seriously hurt. And what they thought to be just a red t-shirt the man was wearing, it was in fact blood. One of the teenagers rang for an ambulance straight away, as the woman in the doorway shouted at them not to bother, that he was all right. The Gardaí arrived first and they did their best to stop the bleeding as they waited for the ambulance. They realised he had multiple wounds and found it hard to control the bleeding. Eventually, the Gardaí put the man in the back of their squad car as they knew they had to get this man to the hospital, as the ambulance had been delayed for 25 minutes at this stage and it would be 45 minutes in total before the ambulance arrived on the scene. It would later be realised that the ambulance was dispatched from Ardee, which is nearly 30 minutes away. They rushed the man to Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital in Drogheda. The man on the way suffered a heart attack, but the Gardaí managed to bring him back. But when he arrived at the hospital, he had a second heart attack and died. Wayne McQuillan, also known as Quilly, was the man that died in the hospital that New Year's morning. Wayne was a 30-year-old painter and decorator from Marion Park in Drogheda. He was an only son and had a sister Audrey. They were very close as siblings, but also close in age, 13 months between them, and people used to think they were twins. Wayne lived with his parents but would often stay with his girlfriend. His girlfriend was 41-year-old Paula Farrell, who he had met the year before at her 40th birthday. Paula herself was also born and raised in Drogheda and lived in McQuillan nearly all her life. She said she had a rough upbringing and was sexually abused from a young age. At the age of 14, she finally exposed the abuse and the man fled to the UK. The abuse Paula suffered turned her to drink at a young age as a coping mechanism. Paula was 14 when she left school and began a relationship with a man and had 2 daughters with him. They moved to London for a year and then moved back home. By then her drinking became a real problem, right up to the night of the killing. She would go on to have a son with another man in her early 30s, but that relationship would not last either. Wayne and Paula's relationship was no fairy tale. Their binge drinking and arguments meant that it was a very turbulent one. The day before New Year's Eve, the couple had spent the day drinking, and Wayne stayed at Paula's house. On the morning of New Year's Eve, Wayne returned home to his parents' house to have a shower and change his clothes. Then he met up with Paula once again and the two went drinking until the early hours of New Year's Day 2014. When the Gardaí arrived at the house that fateful morning, they found Paula in the hallway and she was inconsolable. They noticed blood on the floor and in the kitchen sink. When they asked Paula if she had stabbed Wayne, she admitted she had done it. Paula was taken to her mother's house, which was close by, and she was cautioned before she gave a statement. She said that she and Wayne had got into an argument after coming back from Wayne's parents' house and began, as Paula would explain, tackling each other. She claimed that Wayne pushed her onto a chair and grabbed her by the throat, causing her to hit her head off the wall. She went on to say that when she managed to get away from him, she went into the kitchen, grabbed a knife and stuck it in Wayne as he stood at the kitchen door. On this statement, Paula was arrested and brought to the Garda station for questioning. Paula told detectives that she was an alcoholic, a schizophrenic, and suffered from depression and asthma. She said that on New Year's Eve she did not take her medication, as she and Wayne had planned to go on the drink. By midnight that night, Paula admitted she had drunk 9 to 10 cans of cider. She said after she stabbed Wayne, she went to the kitchen sink to wash the blood off her hands, and Wayne stumbled out the front door. It was then she heard the commotion outside, went to the front door and saw the teenagers, who were by then calling for an ambulance. A doctor was called to the Garda station to examine Paula for injuries. It was noticed that she had 2 areas of bruising and swelling on the left and right of her scalp, and what appeared to be a bite mark on the left side of her cheek, a vertical bruise on the right side of her neck, and bruising and tenderness above her collarbone on her left side. The doctor said they were recent injuries. The following morning, Paula was brought to the Dublin District Court and officially charged with Wayne's murder. She was granted free legal aid, medical treatment, and was remanded in custody until trial. In the meantime, a post-mortem was carried out on Wayne. The state pathologist found 4 stab wounds, 1 in the upper right arm, 1 to the front of the chest, and 2 to his left shoulder, which were less than 2 centimetres apart. 3 of the stab wounds were not fatal, but the 4th was in a downward angle to his upper left side of his chest and was 18 centimetres deep. It severed a vein and punctured his lung, which caused internal bleeding. He also said there were dozens of bruises and scratches found on his body, which he claimed were recent and caused by fingernails, indicative of a struggle. Concerns were also mentioned by the state pathologist about the delay in the ambulance getting to the scene. He said if Wayne had received timely intervention, he may have survived his injuries. Wayne's funeral took place on the first Sunday of the new year at the Holy Family Church in Drogheda and was attended by hundreds of mourners. As the rain poured down, his casket, draped in the flag of his beloved football club, Liverpool, was brought into the church. The local GAA club, the Wolftones flag, which Wayne had played for, also draped the casket. He had played on the Wolftone team as a teenager, and they had been a team to be reckoned with in the under-14 leagues. Wayne was also an avid darts player and had played football with the Drogheda Boys Club. The priest spoke of Wayne's love for his parents and the closeness he had with his sister, and the love he had for sport, which made him a very popular character in his friends' group. He was a happy, peaceful person and couldn't understand how this could happen. You'll Never Walk Alone, the Liverpool anthem, was played as Wayne's body was taken from the church for burial to Calvary Cemetery, flagged by a guard of honour from the Wolftones Club. Paula Farrell remained behind bars for over a year after she had killed Wayne. The defence notified the state that they intended to put forward evidence showing that Wayne on that night had tried to sexually assault Paula. The prosecution called it an imputation of Wayne's character. In June 2015, the trial began at the Central Criminal Court in Dublin. Paula Farrell pleaded not guilty to murder, but guilty to manslaughter. The defence would state that she had a loss of self-control because of the attempted sexual assault on the night she stabbed Wayne, and she was in a dissociative state at the time of the attack. As a little reminder of the laws in Ireland when it comes to murder, the state needs to prove that there is an intent to cause serious bodily harm or injury that results in death for it to be deemed murder. The next charge would be manslaughter, where the accused did not intend to kill or cause serious injury to the victim, or know that it was the probable outcome of their action, and of course, the not guilty, where none of the above were proved by the prosecution. The prosecution opened with defining Wayne and Paula's relationship. He explained that they had been in a relationship for just over a year, and both had what some would call a drinking problem when together, and they would go out drinking often, including the night Wayne was murdered. The prosecution said that on the morning of New Year's Day, after Wayne had left the house after being stabbed, and Paula standing at the door, she went back inside to clean up the blood and wash the knife she had used on Wayne. There were clear signs of a clean-up. Paula Farrell took to the stand and stated that she stabbed Wayne as he had attempted to rape her that New Year's morning. When she tried to resist, he put his hands around her neck and began to strangle her. She said when she managed to free herself, she didn't remember going into the kitchen, grabbing the knife and stabbing Wayne as he stood in the kitchen doorway, but that she accepted that she had done this. She said after she stabbed Wayne, he made his way to the front door with his trousers halfway falling down, so she went after him and stabbed him again. She said she only remembers stabbing him twice, but given that there were 4 stab wounds, she accepted that she had stabbed him 4 times. She said that Wayne had asked her to call an ambulance, but instead she decided to wash up, not realising how badly he was injured. Shortly after, she followed him outside and said to him she was sorry. Paula Farrell also proceeded to tell the court the suffering she went through as a child and how she drank heavily as it blocked out all her problems. She said she did not intend what happened to Wayne to happen. She said she was numb and that she didn't realise what she had done. She had just wanted to hurt Wayne like he had hurt her. When questioned why she didn't tell the arresting officer or the detectives that had interviewed her 4 times before being charged with murder that there had been an attempt of sexual assault by Wayne that night, she said, quote, "Because I didn't want to believe that it happened." The doctor that had examined Paula on the morning of the murder also gave evidence and spoke of 11 injuries found on her. Swelling and bruising to her jaw, neck and chest were described. The defence called a psychiatrist and he claimed that Paula had suffered from PTSD and alcoholism. He believed, therefore, that she had diminished responsibility at the time of the murder, as she was unable to exercise self-control. The psychiatrist on behalf of the state deemed that Paula did not suffer from a mental health illness, but put the blame on the amount of alcohol she had consumed that night. 12 empty cans and 3 empty 2 litres of cider bottles were found in the kitchen. The alcohol level in both Paula and Wayne was way over the legal driving limit that night. The psychiatrist also didn't believe she was disassociative the night she killed Wayne. The prosecution told the jury that Paula had lied to them when she said Wayne tried to rape her. The only reason why they were hearing about her past abuse and mental illness was to gain sympathy and sway their verdict. In other words, she was trying to manipulate them so they would find her not guilty of murder. On the 25th of July 2015, after almost 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict of guilty for the murder of Wayne. Wayne's sister Audrey read a victim impact statement to the court on her parents' behalf. She spoke how painful it was that Wayne was killed by the person who was supposed to care and love him. They mourned how he would never experience what a true and loving relationship is supposed to be. She said, quote, "Our family is forever broken. We cannot forgive her for the terrible pain and suffering inflicted on us. Our lives will never be the same again. We can never be a family again, and this breaks our hearts. Paula Farrell has left us feeling fear, a fear of bumping into her as we go about our daily business. We live in the same area as her, and we do not ever want to see her face again." But while you all may think that this is the end and all is tied up in a neat little bow, when it comes to the Irish justice system, you all know it never works out this way, especially for the families of loved ones. An appeal was issued stating that the issue of provocation should have been raised to the jury as the only viable defence, and in this case there was diminished responsibility and provocation. Paula had told Gardaí that Wayne had been violent before she stabbed him, and when her daughter had come to see her after the attack, she told her she didn't mean to do it and that Wayne had been strangling her before she went into the kitchen to get the knife. This, according to the defence, led her to have a sudden loss of control and stabbing Wayne. PTSD was also brought up at the appeal because of the sexual abuse she had suffered as a child, which due to alcohol led to psychosis on the night of the attack. The prosecution said there was no signs that she had lost control, and even if she did, she had time to calm down following the alleged assault. They said that there was evidence of a calculating series of events that showed that Paula had thought through her actions. She chose to stay in the house as her young son was upstairs asleep. She admitted to thinking, quote, "I'll kill you," before picking up the knife from the kitchen sink. The prosecution said it would be perverse, considering this evidence, to leave the issue of provocation up to the jury. The defence said the provocation flowed from, quote, "very clear evidence of what occurred in terms of the stabbing of Wayne, an almost instantaneous response to what Paula had said in the terms of the attempted sexual assault and the physical attack on her. That she talks about it in such a way and gives evidence in such a way that it seems open to the jury to conclude that she suffered a sudden and temporary loss of control in response to what was done to her. It was also brought up her injuries and the bang to her head, along with her face being bitten, could have caused her to disassociate. With this, the lead judge said that all this could be brought to a new jury and manslaughter could be considered, and so the appeal was granted. The charges were quashed and a retrial was ordered. The second trial began in July 2019 at the Central Criminal Court in Dublin once again. Paula pleaded not guilty to the charge of murder, but guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter. The prosecution rejected this plea on behalf of the state. Again, the prosecution spoke about the relationship between Paula and Wayne. He said that neither paid much attention to the recommended daily allowance of alcohol. The defence this time were able to put forward the claims of diminished responsibility and claims of provocation because of the appeal court's ruling. If the jury accepted either or both, then it would reduce the murder charge to manslaughter. On the second day of the trial, Paula Farrell took to the stand, and she would be on the stand for 3 days. Again, she explained how she went into the kitchen and grabbed the knife after Wayne tried to rape her, and she also told how she had been in denial when asked why it took her a year to mention that Wayne had tried to do this to her. The prosecution said that Paula came up with the idea after she was served the book of evidence 4 months after the murder. It contained information that Wayne's trousers were down when he staggered out of the house, and so gave Paula a defence to say he had tried to sexually assault her. The prosecution accused Paula of lying to save her own skin. She also agreed, when put to her, that she tended to lash out and hurt the people she loved when angry, but said she was not angry at Wayne that night. She said she stabbed Wayne because he was trying to kill her, and she didn't intend to kill him, but knew by stabbing him it would more than hurt him. She had told the Gardaí that she had a brilliant relationship with Wayne, although they didn't always get along. Wayne was a lovely person, good-humoured and always smiling and laughing, and so the prosecution put to her, quote, "Wayne was a lovely person and all these things, and yet you are asking the jury to believe that now he was a rapist. Which is it?" Paula's daughter also took to the stand. She said her and her boyfriend heard about what happened that night, and so they went to Paula's house. They found Paula standing at the door, and she proceeded to give towels to her daughter's boyfriend, who was trying to stop Wayne's bleeding. The daughter said Paula was distraught and kept repeating, quote, "What have I done? He attacked me. I didn't mean it." When the teenagers took to the stand, they described how they had come upon the grisly scene. They said Wayne had walked out of the house, saying he had been stabbed and to call an ambulance. They said Paula was standing in the doorway drying her hands. When Wayne asked for help, Paula shouted at the boys to leave Wayne alone and not to ring for an ambulance. The boys saw blood on the accused and on the floor of the hallway. They also told how Wayne's trousers and underwear were down around his ankles when he emerged from the house. The state argued that Wayne's trousers were down because he had attempted to sexually assault Paula. The state pathologist also took to the stand again and stated that Wayne had died from hemorrhaging and air in the chest cavity caused by the stab wounds. He admitted in cross-examination that some of Wayne's injuries to his hands could have been caused by hitting Paula or something else. He also restated that Wayne could have survived his injuries if he had more prompt attention on the night in question. The psychologist said Paula was 1 point away from a mild learning disability and had limited cognition. He concluded because of her limited cognition, she lacked the ability to plan a killing or make up the allegation of the attempted rape. When the psychologist was cross-examined by the prosecution, he was asked how PTSD comes into play in this case of murder. The doctor said it was 3 to 4 prongs that led to this killing. He said usually there is only 2 to 3 that can be working in a person at any given time. It's usually the 4th that can lead to something as terrible as a killing. One of these is PTSD, another is intoxication, another is the actual child sex abuse, and then the assault on Paula and the choking. All these factors came together in this attack. In 2016, 2 years after the murder, Paula had told members of the Rape Crisis Centre that when Wayne tried to rape her that night, it made her feel like a helpless child, like she had felt when she had been abused as a child. The psychologist concluded that Paula suffered from PTSD, alcoholism, and was hypersensitive, and found it hard to regulate her emotions and response to situations, like the night in 2014. On the 10th day of the trial, the prosecution's psychiatrist took to the stand. He said he had examined Paula in 2015 and again the month the trial began. Paula had told him in 2015 that she did not hear voices or suffer flashbacks to her childhood at the time of the killing. He did believe that Paula had PTSD, but he did not believe she was disassociating when she killed Wayne. In closing arguments, the prosecution said Paula was lying about the attempted sexual assault, and the jury would find the truth in the 4 statements made to the Gardaí when first interviewed, and not in the elaborate statement about the attempted assault that came 15 months after the killing of Wayne, and that Wayne was not here to defend himself as Paula had killed him. He said that Paula was in control and knew what she was doing was wrong. The defence reminded the jury of the injuries found on Paula on the night in question, and that she was a woman who suffered from mental illness. He explained away the delay in Paula coming forward with the information about the attempted rape, saying that because of Paula's childhood abuse, she found it difficult to talk about sex, unlike other people who haven't been through such an ordeal. While mental illness was not being used as a defence, there were other factors in Paula's life that would have triggered her and contributed to her stabbing Wayne. Quote, Paula Farrell has been drunk nearly all her life. What was it about this night that changed things? When the jury retired and came back after 4 hours, they could not reach a verdict, and so a majority verdict was offered to the jury. Another 5 hours went by and still no verdict could be reached, even in a majority vote. The case was then rescheduled for a 3rd trial. That December in 2019, almost 6 years after Wayne was killed, Paula Farrell was granted temporary release on compassionate grounds, and she returned to her home in Rathmullen just in time for Christmas. Her release terms were she had to pay a surety of €500. She had a curfew and she was not allowed to visit Wayne's grave or go within 1 kilometre of his family as they still lived in the area. In March of 2020, the 3rd trial began, and again the same evidence was brought forward, that Paula had been provoked by Wayne when he tried to sexually assault her. The fact that Wayne's trousers and underwear were down when he stumbled out of the house was used as evidence against him, and to prove Paula was telling the truth. Paula had told her barrister how when she was in her early 20s, she had confronted her abuser. He had apologised and she in return punched him in the face. She said that counselling made her feel worse, so she self-medicated by drinking excessively, and she also spoke about her mental health issues. When the defence's psychiatrist was cross-examined by the state, he stated that her low IQ had no bearing on why she stabbed Wayne and did not have the cognitive resources to act in a different manner on the night in question. The state psychiatrist said that Paula's actions were due to alcohol intoxication and not mental illness, although did admit that her illnesses made it difficult for her to regulate her emotions. Wayne, the court was told, had 9 previous convictions for public order offences that were dealt with in the district court, and Paula had none. The Garda that was first on the scene said it was chaos as crowds began to gather as they were waiting for the ambulance. He said Paula was hysterical, and so he made the decision to take her to her mother's house for her safety. It was then that he cautioned her and took a statement. He said Paula was cooperative and did not try to hide the knife. She told him it was in the kitchen sink. After 2 days of deliberations, the jury rejected Paula Farrell's defence and was convicted for the murder of Wayne for a second time. The jury were thanked and excused from jury duty for life. Paula did not react to the verdict. Because of the ongoing pandemic, Wayne's parents were not in attendance when the verdict came through, but the prosecution did read out his parents' victim impact statement. Quote, "We brought him into the world and loved him and protected him and kept him safe as parents should do. His last moments on this earth were moments of pain and fear. We weren't there to hold his hand and comfort him. Not only did Paula Farrell take our son and brother, but she also took our hopes and dreams we had for him. Our family is forever broken." Paula Farrell was given the mandatory life sentence and was sent back to prison.